Thanks for tuning in. My name is Matt Rosu, Professor of Economics and Dean of the Sigmund Weiss School of Business at Susquehanna University. I have a video from New York City and taking the opportunity to discuss a little bit about price discrimination, how firms can maximize prices, charge different prices to different people for the same product, and 3 tips on how to get the best prices when you want to go see a Broadway show. My introduction from New York, the background noise is a little loud. That's only about 40 seconds, so please bear with me. And then I'll be back to talk while taking a little bit of a stroll through New York City. So we will go to New York now. Hi. Welcome to New York City. I'm in Broadway's Theater District, right near Times Square, New York. And I'm going to take a few minutes today to talk about price discrimination in Broadway, for Broadway musicals. There are dozens of ways to find different prices for Broadway shows. I'm going to talk about a few of the tips and the tricks and how Broadway musicals do their best to maximize revenue by basically charging everybody their maximum willingness to pay, which is what economists call price discrimination. Enjoy the tour. I'm going to flip the screen so you'll see what I'm seeing on some of the walk, and pretty soon you'll be hearing my voice and watching some beautiful video. So Broadway theaters can charge dramatically different prices for the exact same product. And as you see here, I'm walking by Hamilton. Hamilton is one of the hottest shows on Broadway and has been since 2015, since it's come to Broadway. So it's one of the most popular shows that you could see. It's tough to get discount tickets for this. So let's say for the first thing on how do firms price discriminate within theater. So there's a couple ways. They're charging wildly different prices for the same seat. And first, let's talk about a definition. So price discrimination, the term discrimination often has a really negative connotation, naturally. But here, we just simply mean a firm is charging different people different prices for the same product. So Broadway theaters can charge different prices for seats in the show. We say we're walking by Beetlejuice. Hamilton showed before, a great show. Beetlejuice also a great show if you get a chance to see it. So different prices for different seats. So in the theater, you could have people sitting right next to each other who have actually paid dramatically different prices. How do they do this? Well, by buying ahead of time and directly from the box office, often you will pay a little bit more for shows, right? If you call up the Marriott Marquis is where Beetlejuice is, and just say, I want tickets to Beetlejuice, you're likely going to be paying full price for the shows. But then some theaters will offer discount codes, so if you do a little bit of a searching, you could find the discount code, you could enter it in. Some theaters will put their tickets on TodayTix, which TodayTix is an app that will often allow discounts to shows. And then some theaters, if they have seats available, will sell their tickets on the tickets booth. And we're going up. The tickets TKTS booth. The tickets booth sells day of tickets. So price discrimination, different prices to different people. In order to do this, you have to determine the characteristics of who's buying the product. You'd have to be able to separate. Well, if somebody knows they want to see a particular show, they'll call up the theater ahead of time and they'll get tickets for that specific show. That's a way to signify this person has a higher demand. And I'll pause it here until for just a moment. Higher demand to go see the show and therefore are willing to pay a higher price. But then if that show has tickets left over the day of the show, there might be people who wouldn't mind seeing, say, Beetlejuice, what we just walked by, but they don't necessarily care as much. They want to see a Broadway show. Beetlejuice might then put the extra tickets they have available still the day of for sale at the tickets booth for 50% off, 40% off, 30% off, 20% off, but discounted. So if you wanted to see a show, but you don't want to pay quite as much, you're not going to be guaranteed to get into the exact show you'd want, right? It's day of tickets, so there's a gamble here. If you're looking at, if you have a show you specifically want to see, we might want to pay full price ahead of time. But if you're somewhat flexible, the tickets booth is a good way to get a discount. And here we're scrolling down, we're seeing a poster for The Lion King down the Barrymore Theater. So we kind of scroll through Times Square. So in order to effectively price discriminate, right, firms need to separate out who's willing to pay a higher price, who's willing to pay a lower price, and then try to charge different people different amounts. So if you go directly through the box office and you are booking in advance, you are signifying to the Broadway theaters that you have a higher demand, that you are willing to pay a higher price to go see a particular show. If you show up at the tickets booth, at the half-price booth, you're really signifying that you have a lower price. A lower demand, that you're willing to pay a lower price. That said, and as we wave hi to Elmo walking by here, that said, the theater still gets value from filling empty seats. They'd much rather sell a half-price ticket to you than let that seat be empty. If the seat's empty, they make no revenue. They're way better off if they sell, say, 60% of the seats at full price and then discount the rest. That's better than selling 60% of the seats at full price and not filling the rest of the theater. So this is really good business for the theater. And they're able to do this by separating out individuals based on how much they're willing to pay. Now, we've talked about a couple different ways, right? You've got those who have a high demand, want to pay full price, and then those who are looking to perhaps pay a little bit less, have a slightly lower demand to see a particular show. There's another kind. There's some people who will really actively seek out discounts. And these could be individuals who are, say, perhaps doing a little bit of research ahead of time on shows. Maybe there is a particular show you want to see, but you want to pay a lower price. Okay, if that's the case, are you flexible on the day that you come and see it? Like if you really want to see Moulin Rouge, for example, some nights you're not going to get a discount, but some nights you might. If you go ahead and if you look at the available number of tickets on several different days, you might know what day you have a better chance of getting a discounted ticket. Now, this individual is willing to do a little bit more work to avoid the low price, or to avoid the high price, to pay a lower price. Once again, theaters would still like to have that person's business. We're walking by The Lion King. The Lion King is a show that very rarely, if ever, you would see discounted tickets for. The Lion King is able to just sell out without discounting the show. That's the same with Hamilton right now. That's also the same right now with The Music Man, has Hugh Jackman in it. They don't need to discount. We're coming up to the show Kimberly Akimbo, and I actually had the pleasure of seeing that Wednesday. Absolutely fantastic show, but as of now, it's struggling to find its audience. And as we get closer to the Kimberly Akimbo, there's another way that theaters price discriminate, and it's called by offering rush tickets. Rush tickets are available to people who show up right in the beginning of the day and wait in line. And at 10 a.m., when the doors open, there are a limited number of tickets for Kimberly Akimbo. It's for $40 each, which is significantly discounted off of other prices. Right? So here are individuals who you're willing to wait just a little while, and it's not that long of a wait on this particular case in order to get a cheaper ticket. So once again, this is good for the individuals as they're getting into a show for a lower price, but it's also good for the theater as those are seats that would otherwise go unsold. So the theaters are they're maximizing their revenue, they're making higher profits by being able to differentiate between the individuals who are willing to pay full price, try to sell to those tickets to those individuals ahead of time, and those who are looking for lower price tickets to a particular show. So price discrimination, right, has a negative connotation, but you see it in a lot of places. You see it in actually in college tuition pricing. There's some price discrimination. You can see it in auto sales, and you definitely see it in Broadway theater. So I hope this short explanation helped explain a little bit about how theaters price discriminate. Now I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to actually show a clip that I took in the evening while giving you 3 tips to find the best price for a Broadway show. So what are 3 tips to being able to get discounted tickets? Tip number 1 would be flexible on what you want to see. If you have a certain show you want to see, you may be able to get discounted tickets, but you might not be. So if you really want to see Broadway for an inexpensive price, you've got to be a little bit flexible. That said, if you don't go to Broadway often, there are so many great shows. Many of them will offer tickets for very reasonable prices. So be a little bit flexible. You can get a cheaper ticket. Second, regularly look at the tickets booth and TodayTix for what is available, and look at what theaters offer rush tickets. Rush tickets are day of tickets, as I mentioned, where you can usually get them anywhere from $30 to $40 if you show up on time, right, before the box office opens. Now, for the super popular shows, there could be a big line. So you may have to go early. But shows that aren't super popular, if you get to the theater 20, 30 minutes ahead of time, you'll probably get a day of ticket for a cheap price if they're offering rush tickets. So that's the second tip. Figure out, look for TodayTix, look at the tickets booth, and look for rush tickets. And the third, my favorite under-the-radar tip that I don't really hear anybody talk about, but is a great way to get a cheap ticket, even perhaps to the most popular shows like Hamilton or The Music Man. And this will sound weird at first, but find a day to go to New York City when the weather is truly awful. So let's say that New York City is expecting 2 to 3 inches of rain, or it's going to be 100 degrees and just sweltering, or there's blizzard conditions. Who in the world wants to go into the city when that's the case, right? Nobody does, right? Sure, you're watching and you're saying, I don't want to go into the city when that's the case. But that can be good news for getting the hottest tickets. So if you go to a site like StubHub, where tickets are resold, the people who are trying to sell their tickets, they're not going to have as many people looking to buy them. And there might be some people who would have gone, they don't want to go anymore. So if you are willing to endure being in the city when it's 100 degrees and humid on just an awful, awful day, or when there's blizzard conditions or just torrential rains, you could have the chance to get tickets for half the price or less that you might normally see things. I've seen Broadway show tickets for under $20 on StubHub. I've seen tickets for Hamilton, which when they were typically going for $400 to $500, going for closer to $100. If you can plan this out a little bit, if you can look for when is the weather forecast look really bad, you could exploit the situation and get yourself a really inexpensive ticket to the show you want to see through the resale market. Hope you enjoyed this content. My name's Matt Rosu. I make videos like this regularly. Please click like and subscribe to the channel for more, and hope to see you in the next video.